Right, we're live.
John has a face this week. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not backlit.
This room is actually darker, but it's not backlit, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
So the desk or table you were working at last week is gone?
It's gone. Yep, I have nothing. This is like a built-in. So
Oh, cool.
Wow. Nice. So you guys are flying out this weekend?
on Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Yep. So
Just because of closing dates and that sort of thing, or?
uh yeah, pretty much. Like, well, because of movers, right? So it doesn't make sense. We want to minimize the amount of time that we have to stay in hotel, especially in San Diego,
Yeah.
where it's going to be more expensive. So
True. Yep.
since the family that's purchasing our house is buying a lot of our furniture, we figured, well, we can just stay here for like a
Okay.
few days, and then yeah. So we're supposed to close on the house next week, Friday or Thursday, and then move in on Friday. But then we still won't have all our stuff until whenever the movers decide to show up. So
Okay. So you're closing on this house on Monday, though?
yeah, or no, on the new. Well, no, on this house I'm not closing until March 25th. So
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
leaving early. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Oh.
At least the mortgage was simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Right.
thing still. I finally got the approval today, the full approval. Right. It's like we're closing next week, and finally they're like, they just kept on asking for more and more stuff, and
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. So, and I kept on telling them, I gave them, asked them if they got everything they needed, and they said yes, and then they come back with more stuff. So, or why
But
they're
it's
taking-
done. It's over. No
should
more.
be, yeah. At this point,
Yeah.
it's approved. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not looking forward to going through that next time I move.
Yeah, we had to do that with our refinance, but it wasn't nearly as bad as John's. They got they had us scheduled for the closing on a Tuesday. It was like Thursday afternoon. They had scheduled the closing for Tuesday, and they're like, "Yeah, we're still waiting for final approval, but it should be here by then." So,
Oh, the joy of entrepreneurship, right?
yeah, exactly.
You're weird. We don't know what to do with you.
What do
We're
you
gonna
mean
make
you
it
don't
really
work for the
hard.
man? What do you mean you are the man?
We are the man.
That's right.
Oh.
Don't you understand that the entire societal structure that we have is based around the idea that you work for a corporate overlord?
Yeah, exactly.
What's wrong with you?
You say to the person working for the corporate overlord.
Exactly.
Oh. So my wife and I had an interesting experience this last week. I think it was Thursday. We bought this video baby monitor.
hmm
Uh-oh. So many ways this could go wrong, but continue.
And it's one of the ones that you can connect to it across the internet and see your
Okay.
kid.
Okay.
Apparently it has some security issues.
All of them do.
So we were asleep. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and someone started moving the camera to get a better look at our baby,
Yep.
Oh my God. How do you know that?
because it wasn't either of us moving it.
So you were but you were asleep.
Wait a minute.
Well, it makes a noise. The microphone is too close to the servo.
Oh, I
The
see.
server
So
going,
when they move it,
Oh my gosh.
so we woke up and yeah. So it got unplugged at 5:35.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So anyway, I did a whole bunch more research. I think I've got something that's a whole lot more secure that we're going to put in there that does similar stuff. It's so yeah. So
Interesting.
anyway,
If it's on the internet,
yep,
Pretty much.
so true. But,
Wow. Well, I saw that there was a security issue with Nest as well. recently.
Hmm.
They've been sending data in the clear, some data.
Oh gosh.
So yeah.
Come on, folks, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like zip code was what I saw,
Mhm.
but they didn't rule out that they weren't sending a lot of other stuff in the
Well,
clear as
you've heard
well.
all the troubles with like Samsung smart TVs, right?
I heard.
They're listening and watching you.
Yes, they literally are. Samsung tells you in their own product documentation, do not have personal or private conversations in front of this TV.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm dead serious because it will record and upload everything, potentially to third-party partners.
Oh my gosh.
In other words, marketers.
I would void the warranty on that thing so fast.
Yeah, never, ever, ever buy a smart TV, ever.
And by void the warranty, I mean I would go and figure out where that microphone is, open
Yeah.
it up, and snip.
Yeah, I guess I don't
Man.
really care. Like, I'd be fine with that.
It's just
John-
creepy.
All it would be a mirror of John's YouTube videos anyway. So
I live my life on the internet, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
all right. So now you've seen my butt. Okay.
I guess that's true. I mean, they'd have to listen to all the obnoxious kid shows my kids watch.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
do. That's the thing. I mean, there's no telling what kind of software is out there listening in on the conversations and analyzing for, personal information about family
Yeah.
members and names and addresses and social security numbers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep thinking my next major purchase is either going to be a gun or a security system.
Well, the thing is, this is what I keep on telling everyone too, is it's like, you can't, I mean, yeah, you can kind of try, and I guess we probably had this conversation before, but my stance on it is, like, pretty soon everything is going to be public, just because this whole thing with the Google Glass, right? That was the big. It's like cameras are getting smaller, and like, I mean, and they're cheaper, and listening devices and drones, and so I mean, really at this point, like, and the future is going to be that just everything that you do, you just have to assume that is somewhat public. Because that will be the future. In the future, the technology will be such that anyone can monitor anything, right? I mean, so you sort of have to adapt to that, as opposed to trying to fight that, because that's an impossible fight to win. You're never going to get to the point where, I mean, where you're going to have privacy, absolutely, like we used to be able to have, because technology will ensure that you don't. So it's more of protecting yourself if things are exposed. I think that's really where the focus needs to be, is like, if everyone knows everything about me, how can I still be protected? That's the question we have to ask, not how can I stop people from knowing or spying on me, because that's just an impossibility. Like, as the technology improves, there's no way. I don't see any way that you could.
You're never going to be able to stop all of it, but there are certain things that we can prevent. And the whole case with Apple versus the FBI is a good example of that. The encryption that's being built into devices these days is such that right now we can't go in and backdoor it and work around the protection that is offered by some devices, like the more modern iPhones. But nothing is perfect for sure. Eventually there will be a way to crack those devices, but as break technology improves, so does the encryption technology. It's just a never-ending cycle, a constantly escalating war. I don't agree with the opinion that we can't fight it, but I do agree with the other perspective that you said about how do we protect ourselves when things do become public, which I think is going to be very important. But I also think there should be and there can be some level of privacy that we can maintain and can and should continue to fight for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to buy a damn smart TV. I don't care. That's a level of me fighting for my privacy. I'm not going to buy a smart TV.
But you're carrying around a recording device in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's literally with you 24/7.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That
Like-
the microphone may or may not have been turned on by some nefarious third party, and
Right.
there's always a possibility of that happening. And if I discover that that is happening, at that point I'm in the boat, like John said, where I will figure out how to protect myself, which will probably mean getting rid of the smartphone and going back to a more simple device that doesn't have those kinds of capabilities.
Well, no, what I mean by
Tin
protecting
cans on a
yourself
string.
is being more anti-fragile, so that there's nothing that someone could record that would make a difference. Like,
But that's impossible. At some point, you will have a conversation with your wife that will involve your checking account number or your social security number or some other piece of information that will be sensitive that could cause damage to you if somebody recorded that.
well, yeah, but see, that's where the technology will evolve. I'm not talking, you can't do this at an individual level, but as society moves forward, it'll be more things like two-factor authentication
Yeah.
or, signature type of ways to identify.
Right.
That will be the thing that's.
Hmm.
Yep.
Then it won't matter. It's kind of silly like that we protect our social security number today. It's like, I mean, if someone wants your social security number, like if someone's maliciously trying to get your social security number, they're gonna get it. Like there's just too many ways. There's too many holes in that bucket, right? And right now we're not protected. Like right now, okay, here's an interesting one, right? If I know that you are flying somewhere
Hmm.
and I call up Southwest and I have your flight confirmation number,
Right.
I can cancel your flight with
Yep.
just the flight confirmation number, nothing else. You forward me your itinerary, I say, I think you shouldn't fly today. And I just call them up, and
Yep.
I know it because I canceled a bunch of flights and rebooked them, and the only thing they asked me for was the flight confirmation number.
Yep.
That was it. So, I mean, there's a ton of stuff like that where you could do that. I mean, a lot of, like, you could probably cancel anyone's utility bills, just by calling up and,
Yeah, just
right.
most of the structure that we have around securing that kind of process and those kinds of utilities is based upon having access to the information on the account,
Right.
which is why people say you should shred your bills and make sure that they are securely disposed of instead of just throwing them in the trash. Because if I threw my internet bill in the trash, well, that's got a personal ID code on it that's included on the bill every month. So somebody could call up the ISP and say, "Hey, my name is Derek, and this is my PIN number on the bill, and I want to make these changes."
Right.
So that's a constant battle that we have to fight, and until we get to the two-factor authentication across all services and everything, we're going to constantly have that kind of struggle.
But that's
My
the
name is
direction.
Derek, and I want more internets.
Yes, I do. Please upgrade me to the fastest internet you have. I only have 400 down right now. I need 1 gigabyte.
But that's the thing, is that's what I'm saying, is that it's just like you just have to assume at some point it's going to be like, what I mean, like you can even now sophisticated spy equipment can use a laser to detect vibrations on the window and
record this conversation that we're having right now.
So as soon as that becomes a child's toy where everyone has that, which is not far away, then any conversation had inside a house, right? Or taps on a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was this. I saw this proof of concept where they were cracking passwords from the sound of the taps on the keyboard, right? Because you could figure out the cadence which someone types and know exactly what they typed. So I mean, you just have to assume, and eventually cameras get small enough, wireless transmitters get small enough where people drop cameras in public bathrooms. I mean, and they're not detected because there's so many of them, they're so small. It's like we're just going to get to this point where it's going to be ridiculous. Like there's no way to secure privacy, so it'll be more of securing identity will be important, and making sure that the things that you have to live your life in such a way that you assume that everyone's watching.
No, that's a really good distinction to make. Privacy versus identity.
Yeah.
There's a sci-fi novel that I read last year called The Fractal Prince, and it dealt all about with that kind of protecting your identity. It was a really interesting concept. It was based on the planet Mars, I think, and they had this technology that was literally grown into human brains that allowed you to control access to you as an individual, to your identity, to who you are and information about you, just by thinking about who you do and don't want to allow access to that information. So you could walk into a building and somebody would know that there is a person here, but they wouldn't necessarily know who it is because
Right.
the technology built into all the people
It's like
allows them
Facebook
to hide that.
unfriending in real time.
Exactly. But
What could go wrong? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! Wow.
But it was a really, really, really good book overall, and that was a very interesting aspect of it. So if you're into sci-fi novels, check out The Fractal Prince. It's really good, and it's a trilogy as well, and the whole trilogy is pretty darn amazing.
So should we get into actual business?
I suppose. I just
Speaking
want to
of
talk.
identity, speaking of identity, one tip for you guys that are using the JavaScript that I'd put for the DPD stuff, me and Josh have been tracking down, trying to. Some people were buying and not getting tagged in Drip. So one thing to do is to go into Drip and turn off multiple, like make sure that your goal tracking is one per person or one per, one conversion, and then in DPD, uncheck the show this script only once on the checkout on the cart delivery page, and just let it show multiple times. This way, if someone goes to that page and they didn't get tagged the first time, that they'll get tagged when they go to download.
Yeah.
Because we think that some people are from PayPal when they're paying, that perhaps they're not waiting for the page to load, or they're closing the window, or something is
Yeah.
happening there.
Yeah, we went through. So we went through 93 transactions from of sales of 10 steps from over the last month, and 17 of them, like most of them, actually got tracked correctly. It was pretty impressive. It was only a 2 or 3 maybe that were wrong. So
Yeah.
so that tracking's working pretty well for us.
Yeah, what we did was we took from DPD all of the email addresses of the customers that were added in the last month, and then Josh imported them and gave them a tag in Drip, a temporary tag, and then we compared them against the people who actually had the customer tag, and then
Yeah.
saw what the difference was, and there were
Yeah.
17 that didn't have it.
Yeah, there were 17 that didn't have it, and actually the main problem that we were seeing was that people were paying. It was like people paying with a different PayPal, like their PayPal address didn't line up with their.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot. I use my business account, my business email for PayPal, but most of the time when I'm on a website, I'm logged in or tracked as my personal Gmail address.
Drip. So the code that John wrote for that does a pretty good job of picking those people out.
Nice.
It was like we only had like I said, we only had about 2 or 3 that were wrong out of 93.
Nice.
So, yep.
So, yeah, and there's some of it that I think we'll just never be able to
Yeah, it'll never be 100%.
get.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, if someone's running JavaScript on the page and they've clicked over from from an email, then they should be fine, or they enter the right email address. So there's multiple ways that script should be able to get them, but I guess we'll see. We're going to keep monitoring it and see what the error incident rate is. I'd like to have an automated way of going back and of flagging the ones. I'm sure we can do this, Josh, programmatically. We should be able to figure out after we look at it the next time, I think we can figure out the exact conditions that that are the flag,
Mhm.
and then we can figure out a way to detect those conditions and then automatically send some kind of an email or something so we can, if we can just look at those people, even if we did it like once a week or something,
Yeah.
but that would be useful. But it seems like at this point, I think it's such a small percentage that I don't think it's actually going to make much of a difference.
So I have a question related to this. You're doing all this tagging in Drip and keeping track of who does what. When you get those numbers, what do you look at, and how do you make decisions based on that?
What numbers specifically? Just how many people are buying?
Yeah, well,
Or-
in general, like what numbers are you specifically looking at? How do you decide what you need to look at, and then how do you decide what to tweak once you look at it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're still working through that. I emailed Rob and asked for some additional reporting in Drip because it's kind of hard to get the data we really want. Basically, what we want to know the most is how many people sign up for our different lead magnets. We've got multiple lead magnets.
Mm-hmm.
How many people sign up for each one, and then how many of those people become customers for that particular product. Like, that's kind of like the main numbers that I want to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the big concern here is more of what we don't want to do. Well, there's two concerns. One of them, the concern is we don't want someone to buy the product and then get emails with the discount.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main. Yep.
Yeah, that's a big thing because I ran into that this week setting up my RabbitMQ bundle workflow. And so what I ended up doing is every time a purchase is made, I get a tag in Drip applied to that person.
Right.
So I'm listening for that event. If they apply that tag, if they have that tag applied to them, I force them out of the workflow and I exit them from the sales pitch campaign. But if they buy with a different email address, they're still going to get.
Well, not if they. So the code that John had put together for DPD basically prevents that. Are you using DPD?
No.
You're just using Stripe, or
yeah, I'm using Stripe and Easy Digital Downloads, or I'm also using
okay.
PayPal. Crap, I forgot. I need to look at this again because I just realized that I need to get that integration from PayPal as well.
You should still be able to take some apply that same script, because my script is really working against DPD, but as long as you can get the customer.
Send that script to me again. I know you sent it to me.
I will send you the latest version of it right now.
Yeah, I know you sent it once before to the list, but I don't remember.
But yeah, that's the primary thing we're trying to prevent, and then the secondary thing would be signing people up multiple times.
Right.
Which is a mild annoyance. That's not a big deal. The first one is a bigger deal because then we don't know. We send them the pitches again, and then we also don't know that they've purchased discounts, and they can complain about the discount after they just purchased for full price, which sucks because we have to refund them. But that script, the whole idea of the script, what it does is it just says, hey, look, I'm going to register a tracking event with Drip to track this conversion, and when I do the track event, I'll get a response back from Drip that says whether or not they're identified already. And if Drip knows who they are already on that page, then we just say, oh, here you go, update the tag. And here's the tag, and update your first name as well.
Right.
And if Drip doesn't know who they are, then we push the email address in the tag. So then the idea, and the email address we're using there would be the email address that that DPD knows.
Right. Yeah. And Drip does a good job. They seem to do a really good job of cookieing people. Yep. Like anytime you click a link, the cookie gets refreshed. When you visit the site, cookie gets refreshed. So I guess visiting the site wouldn't work if you signed up and then we lost track of who you are, and then you come back to the site. We wouldn't be able to re-cookie you because we don't know who you are at that point. But if you click a link, we can put the cookie back on your machine.
The
Mhm.
key thing that the script is preventing, though, is the case where, let's say that your drip has tagged you. You know, drip knows who you are. We've got the tracking on the page, and then you check out on DPD and you use a different address for your PayPal, right? So in that case, if Drip knows who you are, we won't push that, like the IPN notification from Drip, like the auto integration with DPD, would just automatically add that person as a customer. But with the script, we're checking to see, does Drip already know who you are? If it is, then we're just updating tag, and we're not updating the email address, and we're not creating a new email address in the system. So that's the key. That's basically the key reason why to use that.
Yep. Yeah, Derek, I forwarded that over to you guys.
Yeah, I saw the email already.
Yeah.
I got to get the PayPal integration set up correctly. Make sure people are exiting that workflow and campaign, because I don't want them to see the discount code after they make the purchase. That would be obnoxious.
Yeah, you might get a few emails. Can I get this discount code?
And yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, I would just give it to them. It's like, sorry about
Yeah.
that.
You know, it'd be a nice feature. I wish that DPD would create, and somehow, I mean, it'd have to work against, but the ideal situation would be, well, okay. I mean, it'd be nice if you had like unique discount codes per person.
Yes. Yeah.
Map
That's
them.
what I think that's basically what the deadline funnels does. But
Yeah.
they make it, I think it works off of URLs. John, we're going to get this set up too.
Yeah.
So it will work off of the URL. So it'll be like a one-time offer basically, and their URL will expire. Versus
I've got
having-
the digital marketer one. I bought it.
Oh, okay.
It's countdown timer or something, or
Yeah, but isn't that just like a countdown timer? I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it actually has any. I think it just creates the timer. I don't think it.
I need to get Deadline Funnel up and running again now that they have Drip integration.
Yeah.
it's like, what is it? It's more than that. It was the full solution, I remember. I have no way of figuring out what my purchase was. I had it start, and then I was like, oh, I can always look it up. And I don't know what to search for.
Now in the black hole.
I guess
Oh,
I can-
I'll remember the name of that. Yeah, I don't. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
But,
Out of timer.
yeah, that's it.
So yeah. So I think out of timer does have the.
I think that's more of a cookie-based thing, though, where like you click the link once and it cookies your machine, and then that's how the ones I've seen in the past have worked. And unless you're going to do, really the only other option is to do a deadline funnel as is done, which is where you have an expiring URL, which is really what you want to do,
Yeah.
because then it's genuine. Like with the cookie-based approach, you're basically, it's easy. You can thwart it by just deleting your cookies or going to another computer, and it starts over again.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this. Oh, I see. So it uses it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a per device, and it's really per browser, honestly. Like if you had
Yeah.
Outlook and you use multiple browsers or something, it's
Or just use an incognito window.
yeah,
I
exactly.
thought I read that this thing worked without like across the. But maybe
It can't
not.
possibly unless it integrates with your email.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's just a WordPress plugin, there's no way. It's got to integrate with your email system, and it's
This
got
is
to
a-
be.
This uses a URL, a unique URL.
Oh, does it?
Okay.
I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
well we can look at it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure it uses a
Okay,
URL, and then.
that might be another option then.
But yeah, it'd be ideal to have some like way to determine exactly who they are. Because people use so many different email addresses. It's
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw stats that like some big chunk of people get a new email address every 6 months. It might be like 50% or 30%.
yeah.
So you're never gonna get it's never gonna be 100%. To me, if you can get it to like where it's like 2 to 3% failure, like that's about as good as you're going to be able to do.
Yeah, as long as you're getting a majority of, yeah. So.
Yeah, and it seems like we're pretty much there with what we're doing now. So.
Yeah, yeah, and we could do a manual review, like I said, if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty, with the data that you have, a manual review, you're going to figure it out because you've got IP addresses, which are, you can kind of figure out the location. You've got the first name and last name.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of data.
So one of the funny things too about this whole privacy thing and tracking and everything, because I have a subscriber, I have this one subscriber. I've written before about how I will just delete people off of my email list after a while. And I have this one guy who wrote me, and he's like, don't do that, please, because there's probably, and he said there's probably a lot of people like me, and I can't imagine anyone else ever doing what this guy does, but he like literally copy and pastes URLs out of emails and puts them into the browser so that he never clicks a link. He has images turned off, and I was like, when he emailed me, I was like, there's no way. Like, so I went into Drip. The dude's squeaky clean. He has not triggered any tracking thing at all ever. And I think he's been a subscriber for like 6 months to a year. It was crazy. But yeah, like to me the whole tracking thing with advertising doesn't really bother me so much because for the most part you are being tracked so that you don't see stuff you don't care about.
Right.
It's not creepy. It's actually like makes things better and more relevant. So
some people find it creepy, but this goes back to
Yeah.
the earlier conversation about security and privacy and all that.
Mhm.
There are some places where I'm just like, I don't want to see constant advertisements for the products that I'm looking at on Amazon or whatever. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
yeah, screw it. I'm going to install Privacy Badger. And when I find a site where I know that they're going to be using tracking code for some legitimate reason that I agree with, then I'm like, okay, disable Privacy Badger on this site, which I do a lot. But for my generalized internet browsing, I want Privacy Badger and AdBlock Plus to work appropriately because most of the websites that I go to, I'm there once, and I don't ever want them to track me again. If it's a site that I go to on a regular basis, I use their service, I do whatever with them constantly, then yeah, please, by all means, keep track of me so that you can serve me better.
It's a matter of, it's the same thing as the whole backup strategy, like in disaster recovery, right? It's the same principle as what I apply there is like, what is the cost of the failure versus the cost to mitigate the failure?
Yeah.
And that's what you have to weigh the risk versus the.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, we could like have multiple backup servers and a warm server to fail over to, and we can test all this stuff. But it's like, well, does it really matter? Like, if it fails and then we restore from backup and we lose $10 in sales,
Yeah.
whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like
If you accidentally delete your production database, you know.
But it's the same thing. You do that with disaster recovery. It's like, yeah, there's a ton of different, like you can't protect against everything. So you weigh what you protect against versus what would happen if it failed. And that's the same reason why, like with my backups, like I don't do like ridiculous amount of backups. I back up important data once, or I have like levels of backup, right? So like for my personal stuff, like the stuff that would be inconvenient to lose, but I could reconstruct, I only have a single backup. But the stuff that is like critical, it has a double backup. But it's the same thing with privacy. It's like if some people jump through all these hoops, cutting and pasting the links from the email and like going through all this stuff, and it's like all the effort that you're putting into increasing your privacy, what for? Like there's what is
that's
like,
what
now if you're like an FBI agent and like someone and you've put away like killers and if they find out who you are because you clicked a link, they'll come and kill you and skin your family and wear
that's when you buy a $100 tablet somewhere so that you can throw it away when you're done using it.
Then it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
or
buy
if you're
a
like
gun.
doing some shady stuff and you don't want to get caught. then it makes sense. But for the average Joe, like it just doesn't. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna worry about privacy concerns if there's no major consequence. So
Yeah, I'm just kind of baffled about why, like, this particular guy, like, why, like, what am I,
He's
what
on,
am I
he's on a
gonna
mailing
do?
list for marketers.
I know, what am I gonna do with that data? Like, all I can see is whether you open my email.
Right.
I mean, what am I gonna do with that, really?
right,
And actually,
yeah.
like, I have his IP address, I'll bet you, because he signed up. When he signed up, I probably captured that. So, I mean, of all things that you'd want to protect, like that, for me, that would be, I'd start there because I
Yeah.
can get more information out of that than.
You mean you have the IP address of the VPN?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the third layer of IP forwarding that he used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
spoof his
that's-
IP address.
Yeah, that's probably true. I probably got nothing on that guy, but
It's just not worth the cost. Like
Yeah.
to me, it's just if it's easy,
Yeah.
then sure. But some people jump through so many hoops for like privacy protection, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why? So someone can know that you have a porn addiction or that you read like. So what are someone going to do with that data? Like, or you know what I mean, or what books you read, or it doesn't matter. Like, sorry, you're not that important. You're not going to run for president.
And if you do, yeah, you know.
And even if you do, you can like
The same problem as everyone else.
You can be under federal indictment and run for president.
Exactly.
That's true. This has been proven to be true.
It's currently being proven to be true.
yeah,
So can I veer this into another topic of conversation?
do it,
Yeah.
do it.
So I found myself over the last few weeks after I got back from all my trips and stuff. I'm doing a lot of the minutia in my business. I'm not doing a lot of the creative work that I feel like is really where I should be spending my time.
You and me both, man. Been feeling the same way.
And I'm trying to hire people to help me do some of this stuff and train the people I already have to do some of this stuff. But it's been really tricky to figure out how to offload all this stuff. I think part of it just comes down to handing it off, but the other part of it comes down to creating systems for them to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I'm kind of falling apart because I record a screencast and I'm like, yeah, just do something like this. And, I just wave my hands at it. And, generally things get done the way I want, not always. But, yeah, I'm trying to figure out just, what I can do to offload. By the way, interviewing bookkeepers is a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Why? Elaborate.
Well, so I had two of them. They decided to add me on Skype 5 minutes after our interview was supposed to start.
Okay.
And, so I added them on Skype, and then they're like, can we reschedule the interview? And I'm like, no.
Fail.
That was your interview.
Yeah, your interview is now over.
Yep.
Oh my
Congratulations, your interview failed. I'm finding someone else.
I'm
Well,
hiring you for your accuracy. You failed.
It's funny,
And your
too.
ability to plan.
It's so funny, because they're like, well, Skype wasn't cooperating. I'm like, then you
That's
should
not
have
my
added me
problem.
yesterday.
Seriously.
Whenever I set an appointment with anyone that I know is going to be on Skype, I immediately add them
Yes.
on Skype before, well before.
Yep. So to this point, I think I've interviewed 6 or 7 bookkeepers. I'm interviewing a couple today and a couple next week, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
But anyway, at least 2 of them insist on doing cash basis only.
Eh.
I talked to an accountant friend of mine, and he's like, no, you definitely want to be on accrual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was and he explains, this is how you think about accrual, which is he explained it in a little more detail than John did to me, but
Did you ask him for recommendations on bookkeepers?
yeah, he doesn't know anybody. He works for a
Really?
corporation over here.
Oh, okay.
He's a corporate lackey.
Okay.
Anyway, so
And if you do cash basis, just do it yourself. I mean,
I
that's
know, no kidding,
so
right?
simple. It's just
Yeah.
like every transaction comes in, it's all automated I mean, today, and you just say, "What is this?" and you just select from the drop down, and then
Yeah.
then most of the accounting systems automatically identify what it is
Yeah.
based on the
Right.
history. So, yeah,
But
I would
yeah.
never. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So.
Yeah, he basically said, so yeah, if you get paid in advance, part of it goes into a liabilities column because you haven't earned the money yet, and the other one also goes into an assets column,
Yeah.
and and then when you earn the money, then it deducts from the liability and from the assets, and as you spend it. And, yeah, anyway, so it was really interesting. And I'm like, yeah, but how do you do all that in QuickBooks? And he looks at me and goes, that's why you hire a bookkeeper.
Right.
He's like, because that's the hard part.
Right.
The tooling's the hard part. So anyway, so yeah, and then I've talked to a few bookkeepers, and some of them are really terrible explaining things, and I want to be able to at least go in and say, okay, this is what they're doing, and this is why they're doing it. Like, I don't have to know exactly how it all goes in, but I want to understand the process along with, and so there have been a couple people I was like, yeah, it didn't explain too well. And then there was another person, she called in, she was walking down the streets of New York City and talking to me on her video phone over Skype. So I got off the call and I was like, yeah, no.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like,
Wow.
she sounded like she had an idea of what she was doing, but oh my gosh.
Wow.
So, but there have been a couple of other folks that seem to really get it, so I'm probably going to wind up picking one of them. But yeah, so I'm trying to offload that. And then one of the other things I'm looking at is my VA in Philippines. I just sent him the latest JavaScript Jabber raw episode because he works part-time for a radio station over there, and he does a whole bunch of audio editing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And yeah, so I could pay him. I pay him about 20 times less per hour than I pay Mandy. And so if he can do a good job of it, then I'm probably going to give him that work and have Mandy do other things. And I think that would work out for some of the other things I want to take off my plate.
Yeah.
But it's been frustrating working through all of this stuff to get to the point where I don't have to do it. And so it's more work up front, even though I think eventually it'll work out.
Yeah. What I've been trying to do is pick one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sounds like part of your right now you've got like 4 or 5 things in your like for me I focused on the bookkeeping first.
Yeah.
Got that to where I was pretty happy with it. That took up a big chunk of January for me this year. And then I went out and hired somebody to try to get some of the stupid little website maintenance stuff off my hands.
Yeah, I did that in January.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I'd like to just get some more of this stuff off my plate, and then just be able to write ebooks or record videos, or I'm recording the podcast. I'm not going to change that, but anyway.
What else do you have? Like, what are some of the big tasks you want to get rid of?
So there's a whole lot of busy work that has to be done for the conferences, and Mandy's been doing most of it. I want to give her the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bit of research that I've not been doing well that I need to do for the business, just as far as looking into things and finding guests and just kind of keeping track of all of that stuff. I also think that it would be good to do more follow-up with guests after they're on the shows and say, hey, can you go tweet your episode? Can you do this, that, and the other? Make sure it gets added to the right queues in the right places. I've got some data entry that I need done in Edgar and in Drip. Just stuff like that. The other thing is like when I finish the ebook, I don't particularly want to go through all the pain of getting it out there myself. Though I don't think it's going to be terrible because I'll probably just upload it to some shopping cart system and do that.
Oh, that could be pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, getting the funnel set up for that could be pretty time consuming.
Yeah, and I mean, I could have somebody just I can give them like a rough idea of what I want in like 5 minutes, and then they can go out and actually, pull the details together, and then I can sprinkle my stories into it when they're done. So anyway, just stuff like that. A lot of social media management stuff that I would like to not have to do. And I like interacting with people, and I want to be able to, reply to people's messages, but I get mentioned now and private messaged so much on Twitter that I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And so I'd like somebody to be able to go in and, do that. The other thing is that I've now talked to so many people on the 15-minute calls. I'd like to follow up with them, get information from them, let them know about the book, that kind of thing. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'd like to get done, but I don't have the time to go and dig through everything to find it. So, and I'd like somebody to handle my email, because I'm getting kind of tired of that. I get so much email that I just archive, and I didn't even need to know it.
Yeah.
And then I would also like to have Mandy start managing sponsorships.
So is Mandy like a personal assistant?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
She's kind of specialized in working for programmers or technical people, and she's also kind of specialized in editing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But at her rate, I mean, it's not that hard to find somebody who's considerably cheaper.
Yeah.
That does a decent job.
The podcast stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the way she does the show notes, so I'd probably keep her doing that until I decide that I need to do something different. But.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one interesting thing to consider. Like, so with the accountant, like what we're doing with Simple Programmer, is the guy that we hired for the accountant. He's done a great job, and he's gotten everything set up. But it's cost us a lot of money, because he's like $50 an hour, and he had to do a lot of work. And then he wanted to go on to a monthly retainer, and he wanted like $500 a month to do the bookkeeping, which is a lot for the size of company that we are, I think.
Right.
So what the current plan now is, now that he's got everything set up and he's got a process for doing this, he's basically just following a process. So now we're paying a general to do a soldier's work.
Right.
So the idea now is that I've asked him to document the process and to train me on it, so that I can do the process. And then the next step from that, so he's going to train me on it, and he's going to document that, so I'll be able to execute the process. Once I can execute the process, I know how long it takes.
Right.
I'll know that it takes 2 hours a month, 3 hours a month, or whatever it ends up being, right? And I'll know exactly how it should be done and how to do it properly. Then I can find someone, and they don't even have to necessarily even be a bookkeeper at that point.
Right.
I mean, probably I'll find like a bookkeeper, but someone cheaper. And that person, I can give them the process and train them on the process, and then maybe we can get it done for $15 an hour. And then we still have the other guy as a consultant that we can bill him out at $50 an hour whenever we run into problems. Mm-hmm. So I think that model could be applied in several areas.
Yeah.
Your Mandy is your general, right? So
yeah. Yeah, Mandy. I think what the situation here is that Mandy's doing $10 an hour work, and I think her goal should be, your goal working with her should be to get her, because you're paying her a lot more than $10 an hour. So she should be building systems to offload all that $10 an hour work, so she can help you with. She should be basically eliminating parts of her own job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And versus continuing to just manually do stuff.
If somebody's never done that, though, it can be a scary proposition.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing to do with her would be to show her, these are all the things I want you to be doing. There is a stack here that goes to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you're not going to, just because you get rid of 3 of these things, you're not going to be losing hours.
That's true.
So much more that I want you to do. So what I want you to do is we need to put together a process so that we have, everything I want done in Edgar is spec'd out, and we can hire somebody to just drive the mouse and do busy work. And then, because you really need a she needs to kind of be like your, I don't know, like not president, but like your operations manager or something.
Yeah.
Versus just kind of an order taker and do this, do that. So
Yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
the direction I would go with her, because
I mean,
finding somebody to do what you have, like finding somebody. I heard a story this week about a guy who hired, so he wanted a personal assistant, so he hired somebody to be his personal assistant, and he trained him. A couple months later, the guy goes off and becomes a consultant, and probably was competing with him. I don't know that for sure. So he hires someone else, and that person, he trains them up. 3 months later, they're a consultant. 4 times in 3 years, he trains competing consultants who end up leaving him. So what you've got with Mandy is really hard to find.
Yeah.
So, I just looking to use her time as efficiently as possible. That'll be a huge win.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I've been trying to figure out how to put it to her, and that's basically what I've been thinking is, as you hand stuff off, yeah, your hours may fluctuate a little bit, but the next thing may take more or less time. It just depends on how many bricks we can fit into the box.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
is she half time now or full time or?
I'd have to actually do some math. She's a little less than half time, I think.
Okay.
Given what I pay her every 2 weeks.
With what you've got going on, I don't think there will ever not be a need for a half time. Honestly, she could be a full time. You could probably fully utilize her full time.
Oh, probably. But I don't want to get into the employee versus contract.
Yeah.
Understood.
So. But yeah, that's the thing, is she's super detail oriented, and she would be really good at, okay, I need you to figure out these things in Edgar, and I also want you to make a handful of recommendations of other things that we can do in social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then just work through my business and get systems around everything.
She could even get to the point where she's helping you evaluate and hire people to do that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be amazing if you if you weren't working with your VA in the Philippines, if she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yep.
John, did your talk get accepted about scaling the team?
Oh, I don't think so. Well, they haven't released the results, but it looked like it was like number 15 or so and I think they picked the top 10. So.
Okay.
That sucks.
Bummer.
I voted for you, man.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's all right though, because it would be more work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's why I only submitted 1 too. I was like,
yeah.
Yep. That's another thing that I've been looking at, is just what can I quit.
Yeah.
And that's been hard, because I love going to Toastmasters. It doesn't really take time out of my Thursday that I would spend anywhere else, because I'd be getting kids ready for school, and my wife just does that on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board for the kids' school, but that's even being the secretary and having to pull together the agenda and stuff. It's only a couple hours a month, and I feel like I'm involved in the kids' school, and that's important to me. So I'm looking at these other things, and I'm like, what can I drop? I can't drop Scouts because I feel like that's where I'm needed. I don't know. It's been hard to figure that out too.
So there's a book you should read by Patrick Lencioni called 3 Questions for a Busy Family, I think. Crap, now I can't remember the exact name. Patrick Lencioni. I'm looking it up on Amazon right now. I have this book, and it's a really good book. 3 Big Questions for a Frantic Family. I'll copy
It's funny you mentioned that. Last night I was listening to the Ziglar Show.
Mm-hmm.
Podcast done by Kevin Miller and Tom Ziglar, and they play snippets of Zig Ziglar stuff, and then they talk about stuff. They interviewed a guy named Mark Tim, and he's got a really short ebook about using your business skills to basically make your family better.
That's exactly what this book is about as well. And I read it years ago, and it's a phenomenal book. It helped my wife and I focus ourselves. We didn't go completely down the whole book and the whole thing that it wants you to do, but we kind of took it at a real cursory level and asked some questions and talked about it a few times, and it helped us focus our family lives and professional lives a lot. But it's a really easy read. I love Patrick Lencioni's books. I've read most of them, almost all of them, and he writes in fables, so it's relatable stories about other people that are in these situations. And then there's always a part 2 of the book which gets down to the actual framework that he's outlining in the fables, and it tells you the process and the rules and the ideas. So it's really easy to read up front, and then really good working knowledge and how to actually get things done on the back end of it. But I'd highly recommend this book.
Yeah, the way they were talking about it on the podcast, I was just, by the time they got done talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so where I am right now.
Yep. And the way you just described all those things that you're currently doing and not sure what to quit, I mean, this book is exactly the situation that you're in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, if I were in your shoes, I would be looking at the business, because your business is like, you have way more going on than any of the rest of us. So
I mean, I've done everything I can to quit doing stuff in the last couple of years, and it's improved my life tenfold. I mean, everything that I'm doing now, I can focus, I can relax, I can get things done in a reasonable time frame without being super stressed about not having done something else.
Yeah, and I'm in. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm in the same place now where it took me a while, but I just I basically realized I have to say no to everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I have really good opportunities come up multiple times a week, and I basically just say no to everything. I mean, I'm not even doing podcast interviews at this point.
Yeah.
I'm literally doing nothing.
Well, and the thing is that, I mean, some of the things that you've mentioned that, I have a lot going on, are things that I could hand off to Mandy, and she could put a process around. Yeah. She could build some email templates to get sent out, and then basically give somebody a process that says, send this email, then send this email, then send this email. If you have anything that, is out of order or out of band, then bring it to me, and I'll tell you how to deal with it, and we'll update your instruction set.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another thing you can try out too, a good strategy is, if you have decent metrics, you just stop doing something and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
I've stopped doing things, and then it's like, oh, that had absolutely zero impact. Okay, then.
You'd also be surprised at how many little things you do that you don't realize you do, but will have a huge impact. Once I started stopping, once I started quitting things and started dropping projects and work, I started seeing how much of my life was taken up by other smaller things. When you're in that mode of frantic work and too many things to do, it's those big things that you see. That's the only thing you can see, and that's what you need to deal with. But when you start removing those things, you start to see what is now the big thing, but it was comparatively small. And you don't realize, that really was a problem, or it is a problem now, and I can recognize it as a problem now. So things like, I disabled comments on my blog. Like 6 months ago, 8 months ago or something, I just turned them off and deleted all of the existing comments. So it's like done, gone, and my life has been significantly easier because of it. I've had 3 people ask, why don't you allow comments, since I turned it off. 2 of them were my friends, and 1 was a random guy that emailed me a couple days ago. So it's little things that you'll start to see, those little things that add up to a lot of your time managing comments and dealing with responding to Twitter and all these things that you do. And once you start removing those from your life, you'll suddenly see, wow, I've got all this spare time where I can put one of these big important things back into my life.
Yep.
But definitely
Yeah, because that's where I want to wind up.
Yeah.
I want to wind up spending the time on the important stuff with my kids and my wife, and
Exactly.
but at the same time, I mean, things got really rough last year, and so part of me is moving in the space of I don't want to go back there. I don't know that I'm necessarily like terrified of making poor decisions, but I'm also in a place where I'm going, look, I want to make sure that I'm setting things up so that we don't have to worry about that stuff anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely though on the business side, a big part of it is having um, the right team, right? You know, having the right people that are helping you. Because I
Yeah.
know for me, like, and I was like, I mean, you guys know, I was pretty much like, I'm probably gonna quit Simple Programmer, right?
Yeah.
And then now having the team makes it much easier, right? Even just like just recently, I don't think I told you guys. So I did. We had started having Rodrigo enter the emails too, and he's doing a fantastic job, like better than I answer emails. So and he's like hitting
You should
huge
see the
quotas.
code he writes, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he's never programmed in his life, and man, he's just slamming it out.
But that took a huge amount, like those little things, like, and that was one thing that I didn't think could really be automated, but or have someone else do, and
Hmm.
that he's doing all of that stuff. So, and then like with the YouTube videos, just having him doing the editing and posting them and everything. All I have to do to pump out 15 YouTube videos a week is to shoot the video. That's it.
Yep.
So doing those things makes it a lot easier. But it takes the effort to initially get them. But tackle it one period at a time, one step at a time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when I look
Yeah.
at Simple Programmer and how much stuff is now being taken care of and automated, how many processes that are in place, it's like, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff. But it
Yeah.
was like one step at a time, and then and then now it's at this point where there's just I'm amazed by how much stuff is. It doesn't seem like it, but when I go back and look, I'm like, oh wow, there was
Hmm.
those processes keep getting improved too. So
It's a bit like the team that I work with at my one client. This team of basically 3 full-time people has been building the financial data warehouse for this healthcare organization for almost 20 years now. And it's a very, very large organization with a lot of data. I mean, it is phenomenally large amounts of data that these 3 full-time people run, and they have literally everything automated. They don't write anything to run manually ever, unless it's literally truly a one-time thing that's going to be run. But what they do instead is anytime they get a request for some process, they don't document the process for some employee to do. They write code to automate the entire process.
right,
And 20 years later, after they started doing this, they still only have 3 full-time people. But when you look at the amount of work that they do compared to the other half of the organization that we recently joined, the other half of the organization has far less functionality. They have approximately 20 to 25% of the available data and available functionality, but they have like 60 full-time employees to manage all of that data and to get all of the information that they need put together. So it's a matter of having the appropriate mindset of saying, look, I don't have time to do these things, so I am going to automate the crap out of these things. That way, I don't ever have to think about them ever again.
yeah,
The
And
pitfall.
sometimes that automation is just building the system and handing it off to other people. Sometimes those other people will be necessary because there's a human need, a human response that
Yeah.
has to be there. But sometimes the automated system comes out of that human response process. Like the whole idea of email marketing, the workflow that I just put together this week, that's all based on stuff that I did manually. I put together this process, I wrote all this information, I figured out what needs to happen, I did it, I made sure it worked, and then I automated the crap out of it.
Yeah, the problem I've run into with that is there's the XKCD comic about the time required to automate, and then how like you just basically end up maintaining the automation forever.
Yeah.
And I ran into that like with Trackabout. I spent like, oh gosh, I think it was close to a week automating the build to allow us to do deployments through Jenkins to Apple to submit to the App Store automatically, and they freaking broke it. It never worked once, all the way through.
Yep.
Like I ran it the first time I ran it, something was broken, so there was something I hadn't thought of, so I went back and it took me half a day or a day to fix it.
Yep.
And then next time I ran it, there was some other problem. And then next time I ran it, there was some other problem. And then Apple,
there was an update.
Then there was an update, and Apple completely removed the tool that I was using to do the submission.
Yeah.
So, but in general, I agree.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think the mistake I made there was we had an issue. There was I made a manual mistake one time in doing the app submission, and the next time I did it, I documented the process better, and that's where the automation should have stopped. But we were like, oh, let's automate the whole thing so that we never make this manual mistake again. And
well, it depends on the situation. In the case of Apple, when they're constantly breaking things, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So the other side of that coin is trying to automate something that you don't know how to do manually.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. That's just going to make you look dumb 1,000 times faster.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually why I'm not a huge fan of generally of writing full-blown autoresponder sequences like start to finish.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to automate the whole thing. 'Cause I did that with Simple Programmer. Like I built all these workflows for us, and none of them worked because I didn't understand the workflows completely.
Yep.
And so I should have just started with a simpler workflow and then built on it, added a step at a time, do it iteratively. But
that's kind of what I'm trying to get to at this point. So I've got in my workflows now. I sent an email to you guys earlier about this I think yesterday. And so I've got it's a really simple workflow for the RabbitMQ pitch that I'm doing now. Once you complete the RabbitMQ patterns email course, it checks to see if you've already purchased the complete bundle. If you have, you're done with the workflow. If not, it waits until the next Friday after you've completed the course, and it sends you a how are the RMQ patterns working out for you email. Just a friendly, hey, wanted to check in. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it's difficult to wrap your head around it all and start getting it in place. And then the next Monday, it will put them into the full RabbitMQ developers sales pitch, which starts out with a couple of weeks or 1 week of just more information, stuff that's from my blog. I just repurposed into the email course, the email campaign. So it'll send them these emails that were essentially blog posts, and then at the end of that, as it's going through that, it's building up knowledge and exposure to the idea of my RabbitMQ for developers product without really being a sales pitch. It just mentions, hey, I took this from that bundle over there, and oh, hey, I took this from that bundle over there, and it just kind of subtly mentions it until it gets into a pretty hard pitch about the content of the package itself and really tries to sell it. And then the third and final week of that campaign is, if you haven't bought it yet, I'm going to send you a discount code to see if you'll make the purchase.
So on that, do you have so what I did with like the 5 learning mistakes course was the first. It looks like you separated out the pitch sequence, which is good.
Yeah.
I have it set. Did you set that initial sequence to continue even if they purchase?
No.
You can do that so that they don't get yanked. Because if there's value to that first set of emails,
right,
you should do that. Because then, like with 5 learning mistakes, I wanted them. It was kind of like, if they give us money, we shouldn't say, "Ha! No more free content for you."
Yep. Good point.
So, so you can. There's a toggle in Drip that I actually asked for, that allows you to mark a campaign to continue even if the goal is achieved. I'm assuming
Okay.
you're using a goal to
Yeah.
yank people out. Okay, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm using a goal to yank them out and then remove them from the campaign. And right now, there's only one campaign that includes all of this information plus the pitch. But I see now what you're saying. So I'm going to take that first week of email, move
Yeah.
that into a separate campaign,
Yeah.
and set up the automation so that they'll flow through that campaign and then into the sales pitch campaign afterwards.
Right. If they're, I have a conditional if they're not tagged.
Yeah, if they're not tagged. I've got
Yep.
that conditional at the top of the workflow, but I'll add it again at in between the value info versus the sales pitch.
Yeah, so I've got like what I call like, so I have like the email courses. For me, everything like the initial sequence is always going to be like an email course.
Right.
And so I've got those separate from any kind of sales sequence.
Right.
And then they always get all the emails in the email course because there's value even if they buy.
Yep. I'll do that because there's definitely a lot of value in these informational emails. These are blog posts that I wrote long after releasing the product.
You might need to one tricky thing with the workflows is once you've got a workflow set up and you've got people on it, it gets hard to edit it. Like there's people at each step and you can't change it. So what you can do is my little procedure is I duplicate the campaign. You get 100% copy, like perfect copy of it, and then I rename the old one Legacy, and then I stop it, and then I start the other one. Well, I make the changes that I want to make, and then start the other one. And so all the new people are going into the new copy. The old people will work their way through, and then when they're done, I'll just delete that campaign.
Okay.
Or the workflow.
I think in this case, I should be able to. If I do it this afternoon, I'll be fine, because I don't have anybody in that campaign yet. I have the workflow set up so that they're paused until Monday morning at 1 a.m.
Oh, great! Yeah.
So I have basically today, tomorrow, and Sunday to fix the campaigns and get the workflow updated.
Yeah.
So I should be able to do that easy. But it's been really fun working with Drip workflows. This is the second workflow that I have set up. The first one was really just to see how it worked. I took one really simple automation rule and made it a workflow. All it does is literally just say, oh, you're a Watch Me Code subscriber here, and apply this tag and get these campaigns, and then it's done. So it's like instantaneous, no real logic. But then this RabbitMQ workflow was a pretty good dive into the real functionality. And I ran a subscriber bulk operation and picked out all the people that had previously completed the email course and had not purchased the bundle and put them into the workflow. So there's 407 people in the workflow right now. So hopefully I'll start seeing some sales coming out of that bundle of people over the next couple of weeks, which would definitely be nice.
I need to do that soon too. Is we have a ton of subscribers that John collected over the last 2 years that haven't been through one or more of the email courses. So I'm gonna take all those people and drop them into my Plinko machine, and then they'll all end up on different, whatever email course they haven't taken. So
I really like the idea of the Plinko machine as well, because I've got the RabbitMQ patterns, the JavaScript the ExpressJS pro tips.
Yeah, if you get into that, there's some gotchas, so we can talk about it when you're ready to tackle it, because I learned a lot.
Right, I bet.
Going through it.
I'd like to get a Plinko machine of my own going.
Yeah, you've got a lot of stuff going on, so you can end up with people segmented all different ways.
Yeah, you're going to blog this Plinko machine, right, Josh?
Definitely, at some point, yeah. I want to prove it out a little bit more. But
that's probably something that you should guest post at least on the Drip blog, if not.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Because this is like huge for Drip as well as for anybody using Drip.
Yeah.
All I have to say is once you start writing that blog post, I'm happy to review the ebook that comes out.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll probably end up being like one of those mammoth 5,000 to 10,000 word type of deals. But what was it? Oh yeah, Derek. So one other thing that I've been doing. So I know you like to leave people on campaigns. You might want to rethink that now that now we have workflows. So what I do now is only people I remove people from the campaign when they're done, so that I have a pretty good snapshot of how many people are going through each step.
Yep. I've started to rethink that whole strategy for a lot of reasons.
If you just tag people appropriately, you can have the segmentation you want.
Right, because that's what I was doing with my campaigns previously. I was just using them for segmentation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's just put you in a campaign and that'll be my segment because it's easy.
Well, it's nice because you can send people. You can add emails to the end of it and they'll go out.
But that's also been problematic because I have a lot of campaigns that I want to add emails to, and it doesn't make sense for these people, the people that are already on there, to get those emails.
Right.
So I think I've already started doing this, and moving forward, I'm not going to be using campaigns for segments anymore. I'll be letting people drop off the end of it when they actually complete the campaign.
So that leads me to a question. When people unsubscribe then, do they unsubscribe from the entire system, or do they just unsubscribe from a particular segment?
Most of the time from the whole system. Every now and then, like I've got my primary mailing list, Secrets of a Developer, JavaScript Developer, and then I've got my Best of Derek Bailey. There's 10 more people in the Best of than there are in my Secrets mailing list.
Yeah, I guess the reason I ask is because I had somebody unsubscribe from getting JavaScript Jabber episode emails, which I'm running off of a campaign right now. I mean, it's just a broadcast with a rule, and it looks them up by the campaign, and so when they unsubscribe, they didn't get taken off the entire list. They just...
Yeah. So this has been a confusing thing with Drip. So by default, the unsubscribe page, when you click the unsubscribe link, a lot of people expect, including me, that when you do that, you're like instantly removed. But with some providers, and Drip is one of them, you click it and you go to a page where it's more like manage your subscriptions. And so what they see, so sometimes they'll see that page and they'll think, oh, I'm unsubscribed, and they're really not. They have to manually go and pick, and there's like radio buttons or like a toggle switch where you pick which ones you want to unsubscribe from. And so I had people on my Sublime list who they'd be like, I've unsubscribed like 10 times. So I mentioned that to Rob, and they added an option where you can add a one-click unsubscribe from all, which is what I do on the Sublime side. So
yeah, my default footer. So my default footer for all campaigns and all emails includes a unsubscribe from all and a manage your subscriptions. So that way people can see very clearly, okay, what am I doing? Am I unsubscribing from everything, or am I going to go manage my subscriptions? Set the expectation in the wording of the link you provide.
Does it list tags as well as campaigns?
No, just campaigns.
Just campaigns, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm probably just going to leave it the way it is then, and just add an unsubscribe from everything.
Which is, I suppose, advantageous. And I can see how both would be useful, having people segmented by tags, but then having people subscribe to a campaign when they're going to get a regular occurring email.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even if that email comes from a broadcast and an automation rule.
Yeah.
Be careful how the friendly names you have on your campaigns, by the way.
Yeah.
Subscribe screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they all show up. By default, Drip will pull in whatever you name the campaign. And I had like some really like technical, just like utilitarian, you know, square brackets, ha ha ha, we've got you type of,
Oh no.
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that, but it was like, it was more, it more expressed the intent of the campaign, like, sell this, sell that kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
You want to rephrase it from the point of the
Josh's porno collection.
Exactly.
So the other thing that we're doing that I'm pretty happy with is I went through. So we're using Drip forms for all of our collection now. We're not using the API for anything, and the reason is that you can add hidden fields to the forms. So I went through every form that I could find. I think I've got all of them at this point. Went through all of the forms, and I added these hidden fields that indicate what kind of gives you an idea where the form is located. So is it the Thrive welcome mat? Is it a landing page? And then I also put in a lead magnet field. And then what I do in Drip is when somebody signs up for a lead magnet, I go through this little workflow and I check, is this the first, have they ever been tagged before? If not, they're a brand new subscriber. So I will tag them with the lead magnet that they came in under. So I know like how many people signed up for 5 Learning Mistakes as a lead magnet versus got on it later as just like a course. So that way we can kind of track where people came from. I can go back and I can see which pages and which forms they filled out. And so if there's a problem, I can kind of track down where the subscribers are coming from. And it's been super helpful.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely need to do that as well. And I can see where that makes sense on the Plinko machine, because then you can track their flow through your system.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yeah, we'll, what was I going to say? I forget. Oh, well. Man, I derailed things.
Totally. All right, so Watch Me Code. Been holding stable in terms of number of users for the last week. I'm at 387 right now, which is pretty much where I was last week. So the number of new subscribers versus cancellations has evened itself out. I did get one more annual subscription this week, which was good.
Cool.
I
Nice.
also did have a RabbitMQ bundle sale this week. It didn't come from any of my efforts on marketing the stuff, the marketing automation this week, though. It came from one of the people who is in the interview series. I gave everybody a discount code to give to their audience, and this is one of the discount codes from an audience of one of the people in the interview series.
Are you still stuck tracking all of your conversions from discount codes, or can you see that in Google Analytics?
Ask that question a different way.
Are you able to track conversions accurately in Google Analytics?
No, I've not bothered with setting up anything in Google Analytics. That is a black hole of confusion to me still. So, yeah. I've been mostly focusing on the automation side of Watch Me Code this week, but I also got Thrive themes set up for single opt-in using that little HTML form trick that I emailed about, which is working really well. I can already see a significant difference in the number of people that actually hit my campaigns versus the number of people that Thrive says have been converted. So hopefully moving forward, my mailing list, my actual subscribed mailing list, not just the people that have gone through Thrive, will continue to grow at a much faster rate.
Nice.
Would be nice if Thrive would just legitimately let us change the Drip API settings so that it doesn't include that double opt-in flag.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I'm wondering, I'm not sure where they're based, but so I've been having some conversations with my subscribers lately because I wrote several emails about the single opt-in versus double opt-in. And actually, quick note on that, so those got more responses than just about anything I've ever written.
Yep.
And so I actually am having my VA. I decided to do so at Traffic and Conversion. One of the strategies they talked about was this thing they call the fishbone post, and it was basically a huge blog post where you take some topic that you want to be an authority on, and you come up with like 100 questions, and then you find blog posts that answer those questions, not your blog posts, other people's blog posts. Right. So you basically build an index of the best content about that topic. and so you build this massive thing, and you share it a lot, and that gets you a lot of traffic, and Google likes it apparently. And then once you establish it, you start going through it and replacing those articles with your own. So you basically backfill your own. So you're piggybacking off of somebody else's content to get a foot in the door, and then you're backfilling with your own content. You keep the traffic on your site. So anyway, so I'm thinking I might do this with double versus single opt-in, because there's a surprising. It is stunning that this is still a question that people debate to me, because it would be pretty easy to test, but nobody has bothered to test it. Anyway, so I'm having my VA go and find all the best articles that he can find on it, and I'm going to do a big, huge post like this and try to just, because that would be a good one for me. It would be. It's really tough for me to get traction on anything related to email marketing or copywriting, because there really aren't that many keywords. There's not a lot of long tail keywords, and but so this might actually let me get some traction for the double versus single opt-in question, which is, I mean, that could be pretty big traffic if I can get that to rank. So where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so I've been talking to my subscribers, and I've had some people apparently in Europe, double opt-in is mandatory by law. So I'm wondering if Thrive is based. Yeah. So I'm wondering if Thrive is based in Europe. If
Pretty sure they are.
Assumed that or like for some compliance thing, they just decided to force everyone into double opt-in. So that could be what's going on there.
Yeah.
I don't understand the whole like Europe thing with trying to enforce laws and.
Yeah, they seem to think that they can police the entire world.
How did that work out?
So does America.
I have the right to forget myself.
How did that work out for you guys the last time you tried to force us to pay taxes from over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, come get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. The same thing. So there's CASL as well, which is the Canadian anti-spam law. But so a lot of people are like, oh, I have to do double opt-in because I'm in Canada, and Canada has these extra laws about, but Canada requires, I forget the term, but it's like express consent, I think is the term, and double opt-in is not express consent. So it's like you need like this other, some whole other level of permission before you can email people. It's utterly ridiculous.
If we ever go to Canada, they're going to be like, I'm sorry, but get on the fucking ground!
Yeah. The fun family vacation to Niagara Falls turns into this international incident.
Spammer, don't you know? I don't know the Canadian accent. Brute.
Yeah, you'll never
What's
have
his
been
email
sworn
you're
at so
sending us
politely.
Oh no, we just offended our 2 Canadian listeners.
Yes.
I did this video on not apologizing. I talked about it at the end of Entre Programmers once. I think.
Yep.
And so I did a video on it, and this one guy comments, he's like, "I'm screwed. I'm Canadian."
He's required by law to say sorry every 5 seconds.
No, it's not sorry, it's sorry.
Sorry, eh? Sorry. Oh, sorry, Canada. I want to insert a Family Guy clip right now where Peter is saying, "What? Canada sucks."
Man.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, I still don't get. I mean, from a logical perspective, I don't see any possible advantage aside from like the sender reliability of double opt-in. Like, why would you not send more emails to more people?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like, there's no argument that could possibly make sense.
Yeah, I think it's mostly smoke and mirrors from the IS or the ESPs, making it look like you get better results. But I found somebody sent me a blog post from a guy who actually tested it, and it was a small test. It wasn't like a huge, but he had he sent like 1,000 subscribers to. It was the best test I've seen personally. Like Mailchimp's, the way Mailchimp does it is they just take 200 billion email addresses and they aggregate it, and the only thing that they filter for is single versus double opt-in.
Yeah.
And that's useless. But this guy actually split tested it, and he sent 1,000 people to one list and 1,000 people to the other, and there was no difference in the responsiveness of the lists. You're going to get you'll get a few more bounces and stuff if you've got single opt-in. Like right now, we've got people that are filling in bogus addresses, so you'll get that. But I mean, it's not worth the cost. It's you might get like 3% of those and 27% legit addresses that just vaporize.
Right.
Yeah.
Not worth
every extra step you make someone take is.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with that Lightbox thing where they're like, oh, we improved our conversion rates. Like, yeah, but you dropped off half of the people that didn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the and like so really basically the thing that actually makes a difference is communicating with people well and sending them stuff that they value. So like the email courses that we do, as soon as they sign up, they get a welcome email, and I usually put a link in there that they click. So that signals Gmail that they want to get our emails because they're clicking to download something. Or sometimes I'll ask for a reply, and I get to my welcome emails, I get like 60 to 80% open rates, and then anywhere from 30 to 50% click rates. So I mean, you can't tell me that that's not better for your deliverability than a stupid welcome email or a stupid click this double opt-in email.
Yeah, I at least in the past tried to make my double opt-in emails legitimately useful. Instead of just being click here to confirm your subscription, it would be some actual information. And oh, by the way, if you want to get this, you have to click this link.
That's a much better way to do it.
Right, but
I think you're in the 3%.
Right. Even that is I don't think it's worth it anymore. Just get the email on there. Get the people on the list. People are going to unsubscribe anyways. I have serious doubts that this is going to affect my unsubscribe rates.
Yeah. And one thing so with Drip, what I might do at some point is now that they've got lead scoring in and it's working really well, if people stop opening my emails, my daily emails, I might drop them to once a week. And then once their lead score kicks above a certain amount, they'll come back into the daily list. And I can do all that really easily. All I'd have to do is on Thursday would be my weekly day, and I have a slightly different segment on Thursday, and then other than that, I use a daily segment. So
that's a pretty good idea.
Yep.
I've also been thinking that I need to somehow introduce people into the constant emails a little slower. Because right now, as soon as you join my main mailing list, you're getting 4 emails a week from me, potentially, if provided I write both my blog posts that week like I'm supposed to. But one of those emails, at least, the Watch Me Code email on Thursdays, probably feels like, what the crap is this? Why am I getting this? I didn't sign up for this for most people. And I think, I'm not certain, I need to go look at the analytics, but I think that Thursday email is going to be a big dropping point for people that are on my main mailing list and didn't realize they were going to be getting Watch Me Code episode updates as well. So one of the things I want to do with automation, with workflows in Drip, is set it up so that once you join the main mailing list, it waits for a week or two, probably 1 week, and then sends you into the Watch Me Code campaign, which will introduce you to Watch Me Code, give you some free episodes, and say, oh, hey, by the way, you're going to get weekly updates on Watch Me Code episodes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think that'll soften the blow in terms of the number of emails that people are getting and getting a campaign that they didn't necessarily sign up for right away.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I mean, you're doing. Most of your stuff is email courses too, right? Are those
Yeah.
daily? Are they daily at first?
Yeah, the email courses are daily.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so people are already. That way, you're conditioning people to at least expect email from you.
Right.
They're going from 7 emails in 7 days to 4 emails in 7 days.
Yeah.
Is a step down.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of introducing it before you just start hitting them with it. That's a really good plan.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I saw, I was sitting in a restaurant yesterday, and I saw on the television an advertisement for Constant Contact.
Really?
A
Wow.
television ad. Yeah.
Hmm.
Email marketing. It had like a vet or something, and the vet was sending their customers emails.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I've never seen email marketing advertised on television before.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hear it on the radio all the time. Like Constant Contact is a big sponsor of NPR these days, so I'm constantly hearing about them on the radio. But on TV, that's pretty crazy.
Pretty constant contact.
Better get on that, Rob. Better. They're gonna eat your lunch.
Yeah.
It's funny though, but they don't know how to they're still in the dark about how to send emails because they're still
Yeah.
send an email that shows they're not personalized, they're not educational emails.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, most small businesses that even do email at all just do they buy some off-the-shelf generic,
Mhm.
it's the financial planner that buys the financial planner easy template,
yeah.
and he gets this boilerplate copy every week, and he just blasts it out to everybody. That stuff's obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
some of those from real estate agents in the mail too. It's
Yeah.
they send you some junk that it's boilerplate stuff. So it's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
personalized stuff is what you
Right.
need to get.
Personalized, or at least having personality,
Yes.
to where it's you get to know them. My real estate agent is finally. I've been on him to try to get him to do this for 5 years, and he's finally just started doing a quarterly print newsletter, and he writes it himself, and it's
Right.
just a front and back of a piece of paper,
Mhm.
just a bunch of little stories, but he writes it himself, and it's got some humor in it, and it's got some personality to it, and that's going to kill for him
Oh
Yes.
over a year or two. He's not going to have to worry about staying busy anymore.
Yeah. The only thing I ever get from real estate agents is, we recently sold this house in your neighborhood. I don't
Yeah.
care. Why are you sending me this garbage? You're wasting paper, you're wasting
Yeah.
postage, you're wasting your time.
The one thing that is valuable is what they send us. Occasionally, there's one agent who sends us all these 20 houses sold in your
Exactly.
neighborhood, and this was the pricing.
Hmm.
And we always look at it, and there's always one that's $370,000. We're like, whoa, there must have been some seller assist on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, those are valuable. In fact, the agent that sold my house here, that's how I picked him. He was the one who was always sending me. So I was like, oh, well, this guy knows the pricing in this area. He specializes in this community. So
yep. How about recipes? Do you get recipes?
recipes?
There's an agent around here who sends recipes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You do need to get attention, but you also need to get relevant attention.
Yes, relevant attention. It's I don't put crochet patterns on my technical blog. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, he posts those to Facebook in the Grannies group.
Ravelry,
Oh my gosh.
which is the online community for knitting and crocheters.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Speaking of, have you all seen Totoro, the movie Totoro by Miyazaki? I made a little baby Totoro.
Oh my
So
goodness.
anybody that's a Totoro fan will recognize this.
Wow.
I feel
got-
so much better about life now that I've seen that.
It got me a lot of attention on Twitter this week, which is really fun. And so I did a GitHub gist with my Totoro crochet pattern, which I thought was pretty funny. Let's make
It
this
doesn't
crochet-
compile. Why
Yeah,
won't
exactly.
it compile?
You may
It's,
have something here.
it's just a WordPress, or not a WordPress, a Markdown document.
Okay.
That's the only reason I did it on a gist is because I knew I could turn it into a Markdown document for formatting.
Nice. You know, in 2 years you're going to be able to 3D print those things. And then
Yeah,
you're
I'm
gonna be
3D
so...
printing them now with my
Well-
hands. It's just, constantly going back and forth like this.
You should run some test ads on Facebook and see if you could just put a bunch of make Zelda characters and
Oh, totally.
anime and all that, right? And then make a little Facebook ad with the pictures of them all and see if you can get people to sign up for interested in learning how to crochet cool stuff, and then you can sell your patterns.
No, I've actually thought about doing that recently. I was like, I could. I mean, I've got BB-8, I've got the Kendo UI mascot, I've got Totoro, I've done Ponyo, I've done, I've done some pretty cool little crochet toys recently, and a lot of people do sell patterns. It'll be like $2 to download this pattern from wherever. And I've thought about doing that.
You may actually have something because the little figurines and stuff sell in that demographic
Yeah.
of office cubicle, and so
Mhm.
maybe you could teach crochet and teach people how to make their own thing. They'd be maybe interested in that. It's funny because at first I thought
Watch, Derek will end up being richer than all of us.
From crocheting. That'd be amazing.
I mean, you could actually start a trend.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, to see if you could actually do something with that. I'd be curious to find out.
There are a lot of people already doing exactly that. So I would certainly be following in some already big footsteps, but it's something I've thought about recently.
Yeah,
Like
if
there's
you
a
could combine
there's
it
a-
with the geek angle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a comic book convention in Waco this weekend, and if I had planned, 6 months ago or something,
Yeah.
I could have a whole bunch of comic book character crochet toys and go sell them at the convention for $20 each and make a killing,
Nice.
But they do take a long time to make. Like this little Totoro, I mean, this is 3 inches tall, and it took me probably about an hour to make this thing. So, a $300 Totoro that's 3 inches tall is not going to sell very quickly.
Well, you can't expect to bill. You can't really expect to bill software developer hourly rate.
Exactly. which is why I will probably never sell the things that the actual items I make, but I could sell the patterns.
Right.
I can write the pattern down once and then sell 100 copies of it for $2 each.
I still think, yeah, you could do that. You could also go over to your local nursing home.
Well, guess what, Grandma? Now your back's gonna hurt too.
Pay them $1 an hour to pump out these things. What even is
I'll just
it?
get my daughter to do it. She's been learning how to crochet. She's little 6-year-old slave labor here.
I don't
That's what
even
kids
know
are
what
for,
these
right?
things we're
my
making
God.
are. What are these? Shut up, Grandma, and make it. Now you got to start all over. Look like a sword.
Exactly.
Follow the
Pikachu's
pattern.
ear doesn't angle like that.
Yeah. And then you can open your Etsy store and sell it. And then you can donate part of your proceeds, 10% of your proceeds to Alzheimer's research.
Yes, exactly. I live 2 blocks away from an Alzheimer's care center.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
it is literally. I can see it just by looking out my window right here.
That's even better because then you can be like, I paid you yesterday.
No. I'm your son. I'm Billy. I'm your son. You promised you would make this for
Oh
me.
my God. This episode is veered into a very dark place.
I was
It
going to
has.
say, I think we have
Terrible.
devolved to the point of exploiting the elderly. So
Yes.
Wow.
I think I'm gonna go to hell at this point. So all because of crochet. The road to hell is paved with knitted and crocheted things.
Oh, so I threw up a little campaign just in Google AdWords just to
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Just threw it up, threw up, and there's your campaign.
Well, what I did was I said, okay, let me take the YouTube video that I have that has the highest likes to views ratio
Mhm.
of most people that have liked it, that have viewed it, and I made a little campaign for that, and I put the maximum cost per view at 10 cents
Hmm.
and $5 a day. So far, it's ran for 2 days, I think, or yeah, it's ran for 2 days, and I got a average cost per view of 5 cents.
Nice.
Oh,
So
nice.
I've got like
Do we get
100.
in? Can you measure subscribers off of that?
Sort of. I can look at the Google Analytics afterwards, I think.
Okay.
Or the analytics, the YouTube analytics, once it lags like a few days behind, and we
Mm.
can look at the
What we
subscribers on that video.
what we need to do would be to just pump that up to like $100 for a couple days,
Hmm.
and then you'll have a big enough bump that you'll be able to measure it.
Oh, that's true.
Versus
Although
like
we
if
might want to tweak it to.
well, but I mean just to like spend a couple $100 to find out get a pretty rough idea of how many people subscribe. Like that's to me that would be worth it.
I see, yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah,
and then we wouldn't run that for very long, just
yeah.
a couple
Well,
days.
unless it's worth it, then you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a bad idea. But I mean, so far that looks pretty good. Like if I'm paying 5 cents per view, I'm
Yeah.
pretty happy
The other
with
thing we
that.
should do, John, is you need to get me the retargeting pixel for that. We need to get that on the site
Yeah,
because we could probably be paying 2 or 3 cents a view for the retargeting.
that's true. Well, and views
So
are counted by like if they watch the whole thing, or if they watch 30 seconds of it. I forget exactly how much of it.
you
But
could
the
target them for
in-stream,
retargeting.
yeah, yeah, you can do that too. The in-stream, actually on the in-stream, I'm getting a 10.5% view rate.
What does that mean? So if it's showing up in the feed, 10% of people are watching it?
In the in-stream. So I believe that means in the video. Like
Oh, so
pre,
if it plays ahead of the video that they want to watch, they're watching it.
I believe so, and it's 10 over almost
Wow.
11% rate. Because in-stream is what? In-stream means
I'm not sure.
I think in-stream is that.
Like the pre-roll where it
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'm looking it
okay.
up now to verify.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we definitely need to get that going. At least be collecting the retargeting data so we can use it later if we want.
Yeah, yeah. Because my thinking is just like with this is to if we can get people subscribe, more people watching the videos, especially just pick the best videos. So this is just total content advertising, right? Just getting the exposure out there. Then a lot of those people are going to subscribe or watch more videos, and then they'll eventually, like if they, if we're reaching more people, they'll jump into the audience, and then we'll get
Yeah.
more sales from it. So instead of just directly like advertising to send people to landing pages, it's the lighter approach, but you're not
Mhm.
paying much for it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it sounds like those rates that you're getting on YouTube make it worth doing that.
yeah, yep. So we'll see. I've got that thing running, so you can take a look at it too. But
Sweet.
but yeah, that seems like that's good to me. So YouTube has just hit 19,000 subscribers this morning.
Nice.
Nice.
Like personal goal by the end of the year is 100,000, so I'm 19% there.
That's easy to measure.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah, I think it will be interesting. I'd love to see the growth curve on that. Just on how many new people you're getting every month.
It's about 2,500 new subscribers a month
Yeah,
now.
but I'd like to see I'm sure it's ramping up and
Yeah,
going
yeah.
exponential. And I'd be curious to see what the month over month what that ramp up looks like.
Yeah, yeah, that curve was going pretty high, but now it's starting to slow down, so I'm trying to figure out how to break through to the
Mm,
next. I think also it's just a number of videos too, right? Like there's 511 videos right now.
right.
At the point when you have, my goal is to really hit 1,000 videos. At that point, you should have 100,000 subscriber channel. So
Cool.
Well, anyone got anything else, or should we wrap it up?
That's about it for me.
I'm tired. I've been tired all week.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and wrap it up.
Cool. Who's got thoughts for the week?
Trying to think if I can formulate anything into a thought for this week.
So one thing that I've been thinking about, I'll just jump in here, is taking time for yourself. I mean, I've been kind of pushing a lot, as we already talked about, and I went to a game night last night, and that was 2 nights ago, and that was a lot of fun, and it's nice to get that time. But my wife and I are both, I think, getting pretty burned out with just everything we have going on with the kids and work, and she's got a bunch of stuff going on too. She's almost as busy as I am. And so I've been looking at just figuring out how to get away, and it's funny because I look at, okay, how do I take this, how do I take a weekend and disappear and leave my wife with everything when she's as burned out as I am? And so I realized that I need to send her away first.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
the thing I guess I'm driving at is that it felt like it was an either or, right? I either leave her with the kids alone and blah blah blah, and I'm doing that anyway for these conferences, or I just don't go, and then I don't feel bad about leaving her here by herself. And so I guess what I'm aiming at is just find an and solution if you can.
Yes.
Mhm.
And what I'm looking at is we're going to go to MicroConf, and right before that I'm going to be at Build, so I'm going to be gone for like a week. And I'm thinking about, because the week of MicroConf is also spring break for my kids, and so I'm thinking about coming back on Wednesday, because I think Wednesday's the workshops, and then sending my wife away for the weekend to visit her best friend, and then and that way then I can say, okay, well, I sent you on a refreshing trip, and now I need a real break, and then I can disappear for a weekend. And it'll work out, and everyone will be okay with it. I think she'd be okay with it anyway, but I don't want to take advantage of that. So
Yeah, nice. So last week I mentioned just the went back to the daily habits thing, and so I've been doing that the last couple weeks, and I've been spending 10 minutes every morning writing, just like kind of pecking away at a blog post for entrepreneur.com, and I uploaded it today. So
Nice.
yeah, so like a little bit every day really does get you there.
Yes.
nice.
And it's super. Yeah, it was like it's just a tiny bit over. It's sort of like that tiny habits thing where you do one push-up idea.
Uh-huh.
10 minutes of writing is probably just a little bit beyond that, but it was just enough that I could do it and not feel like it was going to be this huge chore. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sticking with it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Because I have a couple of thoughts, kind of based on what we talked about earlier with Chuck. Know when to quit, which is a difficult thing to do sometimes. And sometimes, like John said, you just have to quit doing something and see what happens. And related to that, this week has been, well, really this last month, the last 30 days or so, has been very much me questioning whether or not Watch Me Code and my current trajectory is the right thing for me to do. Yeah, I'm successful in terms of my current level of income, and things do generally seem to be growing, even though I'm in a slump at the moment. But I keep wondering, is the consumer market really the way to go when getting in the door and being a part of a critical part of a business is better for long-term stability and growth and all that kind of stuff. And so that's been on my mind a lot lately. Do I try to find angles out of the consumer side of this business and into the business side, or do I just continue to try and grow Watch Me Code, which is related to the whole knowing when to quit? And I don't think it's the right time for me to stop doing Watch Me Code or any of the things that I'm currently doing. And I have to remind myself of that because sometimes it feels really easy to just quit something when you shouldn't. So
Yeah.
it can be a difficult thing to balance between knowing when to quit, like the Seth Godin Dip book talks about, versus knowing when to push through, which that book again also talks about.
Are you talking like corporate training? Like
I
more
don't
going
know.
after the.
I don't know what it would look like
Hmm.
if I were to find an angle out of the consumer side and into the corporate side. You know, maybe it would be with the work that I'm currently doing and setting up the Watch Me Code media service. Maybe the the out of the consumer side would be to create a screencast publishing service. You know, not something like Pluralsight where I hire authors to produce screencasts for me, but something where I provide the infrastructure for other screencasters.
You're the platform.
Exactly. I would be the screencasting platform to provide all the analytics for you. You publish, you upload your videos through me. You know, it would be along the lines of the podcast hosting, but more focused, um, more value to the screencaster market specifically. Because
Well, and
there's
plus there's a built-in. They're making money off of it versus
exactly,
podcasting where they're not.
exactly, and in general, screencasts do a lot less bandwidth and downloads than podcasts. You can have a free podcast get 50,000 downloads for a single episode and totally hose the bandwidth for the provider versus, you know, like my Amazon S3 bill was like $700 a month for a while.
Mhm.
And now with just Watch Me Code, even at the peak of downloads in Watch Me Code, it's $45 a month.
Yeah. That's an interesting idea. You
But that's
wouldn't be able to keep Watch Me Code going and do less of it and bring on. I mean, if you're going to do this, I would start on just finding one screencast to bring on and seeing
yeah,
what you can do and what you can offer and what
Yeah.
you can try. Because you could offer something pretty unique with the email marketing as well.
yeah.
Because most people have no idea. I mean, it's more turnkey or more guided.
Yeah.
Like if you just are like, okay, I can host your videos and for screencasting, and
Well,
within
anybody can do that
minutes.
with S3.
Right.
But if you say, hey, I can help you build a screencasting business, that's
Right.
it's the whole like,
Productized consulting aspect of it.
yeah, the value
Yeah, exactly.
instead of, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
start there and then build the software after you've done that 10 times.
Yeah.
You
That-
can't throw this out during thoughts.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
This is like
Yeah,
at least a half episode here.
This
I
is.
vote we table this for next week, but I really want to
actually-
dig at it.
I agree with that. I think that's probably a good idea to continue this discussion next week.
I do have one thing to say about your thought, though, which is about like possibly quitting Watch Me Code or not, is look at where you were a year ago,
Right.
like
Yeah.
evaluate, and then predict ahead where you think you'll be
Yep.
a year from now and where you'll likely be 5 years from now, because that will help you to make not a short-sighted decision. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times, like if I were to look at like where I was a year ago, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? It's like, and if I just say, well, if I made that gain in 1 year, and I predict 1 year in the future, a equivalent or similar gain, then it becomes obvious. Don't quit. And so, but when you get to the point when you're like, yeah, last year I was pretty much better, or
Right.
or just bare incremental improvement. I don't expect much of improvement the next year. Then that's more of the indicator that maybe it is
Right.
a quit time.
Good points.
Let's see. Okay, so mine is if you're afraid to lose it, you will.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's a good way to live your life. Is anything that you're afraid to lose, you're going to lose. So you've got to pretty much live fearlessly and not holding on to things too tight. I just posted like a GIF on Twitter when I
Spoken like a true Jedi man.
yeah, but you got to be able to hold on to things loosely and not be afraid to lose them. So
Which is especially important when it comes to ideas and beliefs.
yeah. Except you won't lose those. You keep those, you'll lose something else. I guess. But yeah, I've kind of discovered that so many times is the things that I try to hold on to the tightest are the things that end up losing. But as actually, I've discovered the opposite of it, which is the things that I'm willing to let, that I have no fear of losing. Those are the things that come in plenty.
Mm.
So I mean, it's the same thing. Like it happens with money, right? So many people realize that when they give, they get more because they're losing their fear of losing. So, all right. I think next week I will be in my new house in San Diego if all goes well.
Nice.
Awesome.
Cool.
That'd be cool.
We got
Video tour.
we've got our meetup coming soon too.
Hmm.
Yep. All right, guys.
Alrighty.
Next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.